Welcome back to the final episode of our Python Basics series. Today, we're going to be talking about classes. Object-oriented programming is its own beast and is very complex, so we're going to be doing a very high-level overview of how everything works. Let's take a look. Alright, we're in Visual Studio Code. So just to reiterate, this is going to be a very high-level overview explaining just the basics of classes. This may sound complicated, but it's going to make a lot more sense when we jump into an example. In the past, our code has been procedural. It executes step by step until it completes. We are now moving into object-oriented code. To start, let's talk about what an object is in object-oriented programming. An object is an abstract data type with the addition of polymorphism and inheritance. When designing complex code, the object is the first thing you think about. More simply put, an object is an element or instance of a class. Objects have state and behaviors, or another way of putting it is that they have data and methods. We'll go ahead and jump directly into an example. When creating a class, we do it very similar to a function. Rather than saying def, we say class and then we name our class. I'm going to name our subscribers. The first thing we're going to learn is the init function. The init function is something used by all classes. This init gets executed every time a class is initiated. The purpose is to assign values to object properties or perform other operations that are necessary when the object is being created. In our specific example for subscribers, we're going to assign a name and location to the subscriber. Before we do this, one thing to know is when working with classes, we usually need to use the self parameter. This allows us to reference the current instance of the class and is used to access variables that belongs to the class. So to create our init function, we'll come down within our class. We define it by saying def and then 2 underscores with init and then 2 underscores. And then inside the parentheses, we say self and we're going to pass in a name as well as a location. We then add a colon. Within the function, for now, we're going to create the 2 variables and set them to the values. To do this, we reference the instance of the class by saying self, and then we're going to name our variable name and set it equal to the name we pass in. We do the same thing for location. Within our class, we can also have methods. For example, we could create a method that prints the subscriber's name and location. To do this, we'll come outside of the init and we'll create a new method. We'll say def and name it information, and all we have to do is pass in self. Even though we need the name and location, we don't have to pass them in since we're passing in the object itself. Within this method, we'll say print and then we'll do an f string and we'll say self.name to get the name, and we'll say is from, and then we'll say self.location. We've now built our very first basic class. Let's create our first object. To do this, we'll come outside of our class and we'll call our if name equals main. Within our main code, we'll set an instance of our object equal to the variable sub1. To do this, we'll create a variable named sub1 and set it equal to our subscribers class, and then we'll pass in a name of our subscriber as well as a location. We'll then come down and we'll say print sub1.name. So just to go over what this is doing is it's creating an instance of our subscriber class. When it's initiated, Maria is set to the name and Indiana is set to the location. When we print sub1.name, it looks at that instance of the class and retrieves the name value. When we run this, you can see that it prints out Maria. If we wanted to, we could call the information method that we created within the class for this instance. To demonstrate this, I'll remove this print statement and I'll call sub1.information and then click run. As you can see, it prints out that Maria is from Indiana. Now that you've seen this, what I'm going to do is add the rest of my family members who are all subscribers. These are each their own instance of the class and are separate objects. Even though they are all using the subscriber class, the data within each instance is different. For that reason, they each have a different output if I call the information method. We'll come down and demonstrate this. When I run this, you can see that it prints out something different for each instance of the class. Sub 1 says that Maria is from Indiana, Sub 2 says Bill is from Indiana, and so on. So let's say that Bill and Maria decided to move to Florida for the weather. What we can do is update their instances. To do this, I'll come in our code and I'll add a couple new lines. Bill and Maria are sub 1 and 2, so I'll say sub 1 and sub 2, and then I'll say dot location, and I'll set that equal to Florida. When we run this now and we look at the output, you can see that they're both in Florida. It says Maria is from Florida and Bill is from Florida. This was a very brief and high-level introduction to classes. If you guys are interested in object-oriented programming, let me know in the comments below and I can make an entire series on it. There are parent and child classes, inheritance, super functions, static methods, getters, setters, and lots of other stuff to learn. Once again, this is the last episode of the Python Basics series. Make sure you check out the channel. I have lots of really cool videos and series planned, which include some fun projects, going over some of the most useful packages, learning higher level Python concepts, and much more. With that being said, thank you for watching, and please like, comment, share, and subscribe.